There is a town in Colorado that sits so deep in the mountains that in winter the sun only reaches it for 2 hours a day. Silver Plume, population roughly 200, one road in, one road out, the kind of place a person goes when they want the world to stop finding them. Keith Reinhard founded in the summer of 1988. He was 49 years old, a sports writer from suburban Chicago, from Algonquin, Illinois, where he covered high school football games and drove the same roads every day, and somewhere along the way, started to feel like he was disappearing before he'd even gone anywhere. So he did what restless men do. He asked his editor for 90 days, a leave of absence, time to breathe, to photograph mountains, to write something that mattered. His wife stayed home. He drove west alone. He rented a small shop on the main street of Silver Plume, sold matted photographs, lived in an apartment behind an abandoned Catholic church, and he started writing a novel. What he didn't know when he arrived, or maybe he did, maybe that was the draw, was that the shop he rented had a history. The man who occupied it before him, a bookstore owner named Tom Young, had walked out of that same door on September 7th, 1987, told friends he was taking his dog Gus for a walk, and never came back. Tom Young vanished into the mountains surrounding Silver Plume without a trace. Keith Reinhard moved into Tom Young's empty storefront and became obsessed. He read everything there was to read about Young's disappearance. He interviewed locals. He took notes. He decided this was the story he'd been waiting to tell, a novel about a man who walked into the mountains and didn't return. He named his fictional version Guy Gypsum. He wrote him as free-spirited, searching, a man who had grown tired of the life he'd been given and wanted something he couldn't name. There are people who will tell you that Keith Reinhard was writing about himself. 11 months after Tom Young disappeared, 2 hunters found his remains on Sherman Mountain, just outside town. His dog Gus was there too. Both had died from a single bullet wound to the head. A gun was found nearby. So were pieces of a shredded green tarp, as though someone had tried to cover the bodies, and the elements had done their work over time. Investigators ruled it a suicide, but the tarp bothered people. It still bothers people. You don't cover yourself with a tarp after you're dead. Tom Young's body was found on July 31st, 1988. 7 days later, on August 7th, Keith Reinhard closed his shop, walked through Silver Plume, and told everyone he passed that he was going to hike to the summit of Pendleton Mountain. 12,500 feet, a 6-hour climb, minimum, and he was leaving at 5 in the afternoon. He had a known fear of heights. He was not dressed for a serious mountain hike. He had no proper equipment. His wife was planning to visit him later that month. He had been looking forward to it. He was in regular contact with his family. His friends described him as happy, engaged, excited about the novel. Nothing in his behavior suggested a man preparing to vanish. And yet, at 5 p.m., Keith Reinhard walked out of Silver Plume toward Pendleton Mountain. He told people that if he wasn't back by 10, they should call search and rescue. He was not back by 10. The search that followed was one of the largest in Colorado history. More than 200 volunteers, over 10,000 man-hours on the ground, aircraft circling the mountain. For 7 days they looked. On the second day of the air search, a civil air patrol plane struck the side of Pendleton Mountain. The pilot, Terry Leddens, was killed. The spotter, Don Drobny, was badly injured. The search continued, and then, after 7 days, it stopped. No trace of Keith Reinhard was ever found. Not a boot, not a piece of clothing, not a bone. Investigators went to his apartment afterward. They found his cameras. They developed the film. They found nothing useful. They found his novel on his desk, still open to the last page he'd written before he left. The final paragraph read like this: Guy Gypsum changed into some hiking boots and donned a heavy tunnel shirt. He understood it all now, and his motivations. Guy closed the door and then walked off towards the lush, shadowless Colorado forest above. Read that again. He understood it all now, and his motivations. Investigators also found a passage in Keith's personal notes, something he had written sometime during those 90 days in Silver Plume. It said, "Oh God, I want to wander. I want to wander till I die, with the mountains as my living room, my only roof, the sky." In 1990, Unsolved Mysteries aired a segment on the case. Police received over 270 tips. None of them led anywhere. Keith Reinhard's son, Kai, has never stopped asking questions. He believes there was foul play, that something happened to his father that has never been accounted for. The Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office still has an open case. When a CBS reporter asked the lieutenant in charge whether the mystery could ever be solved, he said, "There are too many possibilities and not enough evidence to determine what happened," which is a careful way of saying, we don't know. Here is what we do know. 2 men. One small storefront in a mountain town that gets 2 hours of sunlight a day in winter. One walked into the mountains and was found dead under a tarp a year later. The other moved into his empty shop, became consumed by his story, wrote a novel about a man disappearing into the mountains, and then disappeared into the mountains himself. Keith Reinhard's wife was planning to visit later in August. He had been looking forward to her arrival. He has never been found. And somewhere on Pendleton Mountain, or not on Pendleton Mountain at all, whatever remains of the answer to this case has been sitting in silence for 36 years. Some cases go cold. Some cases were cold before they even started.